5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye. Hello, welcome along wherever you are in the world. Craig was panicking me then because I just saw an empty seat, but he's there. This is LTID TV1 from Leicester Till I Die. It's match preview, a different way of doing things for the new year. I decided that I'd sooner have on somebody that had actually got a bit of a conversation in them. Anyway, he wasn't available, so I invited Craig on. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Welcome along again. It seemed like only 3 days ago when we last spoke.
I know people will be ODing on me.
They will. Well, I do all the time anyway. I just watch these shows back just for my own pleasure. That sounded wrong, didn't it? We'll move on.
But move on swiftly.
Move on. A few hellos. Prasant is in. Hello, mate. How are you doing? As is Ronald. Craig is in. Hi. Stuart is in. And Nate, all the way from America. Good. Well, will it be there? Good afternoon over there where you are, I think, Nate. And TM is in as well. Hi, TM. How are you? Been a while. Nice to see you along. FA Cup. Distraction or good distraction or bad distraction? I'll ask you that question in a minute. But I'm not feeling as confident as I was when the draw was made because they were pretty much down and buried. But they've made a bit of a comeback.
Well, 10 games ago they were bottom.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. And in the last 10 games, they've managed to turn it around. I think they're now 13th and probably right at the top of the form table. So, yes. It's as you say, it's a little bit different. And fair play to QPR and the hierarchy for sticking with him. You know, because a lot of teams would have pulled the plug and panicked, but they've stuck with him and believed in their manager and he started to turn it around.
Indeed. And it is tomorrow. It's the third round proper, Saturday, and it's a 2 p.m. kickoff. Why? It's not on telly, is it?
No, I think it's because they thought, hang on, FA Cup, Saturday, 3 p.m. We can't give you both those things, because that's traditional. So we'll give you the Saturday, but we're not going to give you the 3 p.m. to go along with it.
Makes sense now. When you put it like that, I completely get it. It does seem completely ludicrous. I mean, all right, it's not.
I don't understand. Yeah, don't understand at all.
No, it's not. It's not a huge difference. But if it was for telly, fair enough. But it isn't, and I just don't see why they're piddling about.
We've probably got a ready-made excuse if we lose. If Arteta can blame the ball.
Yes,
I think we can complain about having to play an hour earlier.
How long has it taken Arteta to come out with the top excuses? A few seasons, in fairness.
Yeah, but that's a good one. It's the ball.
Because the opposition, who were they playing? Tottenham, was it? Newcastle
brought their own ball. I think
that was it. That's why I was going to say there's two balls. They must have been played with different balls. But look. Talking of balls, let's have a look at this tie. FA Cup third round, like I've just said, is it a positive distraction, or is it a bit of a getting in the way of everything distraction?
You know, I love the third round. You know, I think we all love the third round draw. You know, it's exciting, and the third round itself is usually exciting, one way or another. It's probably the first year where I've thought it may be a little bit of a distraction, because although we haven't been getting the results, you know, our performances have picked up the last couple of weeks, and it would have been nice to try and carry that on. And that makes me wonder which way Rude will go with his team selection, to be honest, because he won't necessarily want to disrupt the flow, you know, the forward momentum that we've had in terms of performance. But also he can't really afford to put players at risk outside of a league game, considering we've got quite a few injuries. So it's a tricky one for him.
It is, but that's what he gets paid the big bucks for, isn't it? You know,
This is it.
A few rumours going around. I have completely ignored them, and I refuse to post them to the Facebook group. But two guys from a different continent to ours, shall I just put it that way, have been putting up that Rude could leave if he doesn't get what he wants this January.
Yeah. You know, I've got involved in a few little discussions with people over the past few days, because it does my head in. You know, to be honest, we must have the biggest staff bill, the number of people who seem to know what's going on at the club. We must employ so many people, because they're all in the know about who we're talking to.
Slide for staff that I didn't bring up on Tuesday.
You know, the number of people who know that we're in for these players and they've turned us down, and you know, the details of contracts we've offered, and this, that, and the other. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's like, you know, our opponents, like Ipswich, have signed 2 players already. Why haven't we? As if, you know, it's the speed of the signing that is more important than the actual fitting in with what we want to try and achieve. And in a window, players are going to have, you know, more options than they can shake a stick at. Nobody, it's rare that you're going to jump at the first thing. So just calm down a little bit.
I mean, Ben Godfrey, we spoke out the other day, didn't we? And let's be honest with you, I've got to say Ipswich are probably the more attractive proposition than we are at the moment.
True. But as I said to someone, one, you don't know what they've been offered in terms of wages. If it's a full transfer, you don't know what length of contract, whether they've been guaranteed to play, you know, playing time. All of these factors come into it. It's not just a case of, oh, everybody's got the same deal and you just pick between teams. And the other thing is, it's amazing how these players all of a sudden become superstars, you know, that we should all be scrambling over. I mean, Godfrey left Everton. He got injured and then couldn't get back in the team, so he left. And now the team that he went to don't want him, but he's our saviour. You know, he's a decent player, but you know, that's as far as it goes.
Totally know what you mean. But like I say, look, if Rude did as he said he did, which was speak to Enzo before he signed on the dotted line, he'll know our position. So I'm sure Enzo would have said, they've got millions to spend. The interesting thing, though, that I did hear, just to quickly touch on this, which was on the BBC, and I did retweet this, was the fact that we should hear about PSR next week. And that maybe it doesn't look bad if we're about to be done with PSR and we go out and spend 50 million. The guy didn't quite put it like this, but it is taking the piss a little bit. So I kind of understand that. But again, I think Rude said in his press conference, didn't he, about knowing what he knows and what he doesn't know and being told. And let's be honest with you, you know, he left PSR because left PSV because he, you know, wasn't kept in the loop. So, and Enzo, having been through it himself, would have said something, I'm sure. But
I think you know. So I mean, he's come out and said that he's been told, you know, the state of play, which is one thing. Yeah. Whether he's been told the truth is another matter.
Well, yes.
But we'll all find out on Tuesday, and then we've got the game against QPR on Wednesday, so
Yes.
should be interesting couple of days next week.
And Crystal Palace as well. We're playing 2 games Wednesday night.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, me being facetious there.
Yeah, no,
But
that's fine.
you made an excellent point about, because I've been screaming for ages. Look, the players that we're putting out aren't good enough. You're gonna pick your team later, and I'm going to bring that up. So I don't want to sort of go into it in too much detail, but it is a very good point that I've been screaming. Look, the first team have been doing absolutely shite. What have we got to lose? Let's just put a team of youngsters out, and they can't do any worse. As in, like that time we played Watford in the FA Cup. But you make a very good point. It hurts to say that, but and one I hadn't thought about is yes. All right, look, we've lost the recent games, but look who we've played. 3 teams that are in Champions League. Just recently. So he may want, like you say, it's a good thing. He may want to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I think he touched on it himself in when he was being asked a similar question. Obviously, he's going to be fairly evasive regarding team selection, but he kind of hinted at that you didn't want to lose the momentum of what they're going, and they're still trying to build this this style of play with the players that he's starting to rely on a little bit more. But I think he does have to see what some of the other players are capable of. Now, I think we tried this in the League Cup, and other players got their chance under Cooper. I think Warsaw particularly, and nobody really grabbed hold of a shirt and said, I need to be picked for the next game. So I think it's a bit of a balancing act that he's going to try and do. And I obviously expect the bigger guns to be sitting on the bench ready to come on if need be. But as you say, we'll touch on the team in a bit.
Well, let me give you these 3 options then. We could get through to a quarter-final, a semi-final, or a final without winning it, but we'll get relegated at the end of the season. Or we could win the FA Cup and we'll get relegated, which I suppose is the better of the 2, but unlikely to happen. Or we lose to QPR, but we finish 17th and survive. Which of those, at this point in time, and hopefully this will change as we go through the season, if we stay in the Cup, which of those 3 would you take?
The middle one.
Really?
Win it and get relegated. Yeah. Because, what are we playing football for unless it's to win things? It is my argument. We could easily get knocked out and get relegated. And don't forget that we've won the cup now. We didn't win it for so many times. Our fifth attempt in the final, but the majority of our fans weren't allowed to go. So this, I would take that personally. I'm happy to. I'm not happy to have another season down in the Championship or 2, but it's proper football down there, isn't it? It is. But let's have another trophy in the cabinet is what I would say, because the way we are at the minute, we could have 15th, 16th, 17th for the next 3 or 4 seasons. Just struggling and being in relegation battles. So give me the cup, I'll take it. What about you, Chris?
I know exactly what you're saying there, and I get that. And I don't, as a fan, want to go into any game and not win it. And it'd be interesting to see. I'll go to the comments in a minute. Hopefully people in the chat are putting what they'd like to do out of those 3. I'm sure somebody will come up with a 4th alternative that I haven't thought of. My worry is, yes, if we were to get relegated, look, it's proper football, as you said. It was nice to be winning. It's even like in that time we were in League One. Wasn't it great to be winning every game week in, week out? My worry is, though, if we get relegated, I think it's going to be 10 years before we come back again. Because I think the EFL are going to absolutely hammer us. They're going to dock us points. They're going to put us into this management thing that they do where they run the club or whatever it is, the finances. We will have to sell the best players. We won't get any decent players in. Rude at that point would possibly leave. And I think we could go back to another long stint outside of the top flight, and God knows what position that would leave the club in.
No, I fully take that on board, Chris, and that's a perfectly acceptable viewpoint. I'm a big believer that football is cyclical, and where we are at the minute is probably where Leicester City as a football club should be. We are about the 17th, 18th, 19th best / biggest / well supported structured team in the football league. That's if you listed every club. Leeds are bigger than us, Sheff Wednesday are bigger than us. There's bigger clubs than us who are further down. So in a structuring of the league, this is probably where we should be, a bit of a yo-yo club, as we have been. And you're right, it could take us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to get back. Could take us 80 years to win the FA Cup again, Chris, And you're not offering me a place in the final, you're offering me a win. And I'd take that.
Can you imagine being in Europe and being relegated?
We got to the cup final and got relegated in '69.
That is true. Was it 69? I thought it was one of the earlier ones.
I thought it was 69. It could be anyway. You're older than me. You'd know.
Cheeky bastard. No, only thing is, I think it was with Spurs because Spurs did the double, but then it was different rules then. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Talking of Spurs doing the double, I think TM, isn't she? Are you a Spurs fan? If my memory serves me right, and she said no, our turn. There's not a 1 in the year. It's usually got to be a 1 in the year, hasn't it, for Spurs to be win it?
I think she meant our turn to get through the third round.
Oh right, that's what it is. Right, let's just have a catch up. A few what people have been saying about that. Hi all, we've made a signing. Have we?
I must have missed that, Jeff.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. There is absolutely nothing on the website. So I've got the website up here. There's a picture.
I think we've been strongly linked with a right back.
We have from Italy. Was it from Italy or somewhere?
Yeah, from Parma, I think.
Yeah, their club has come out and said he's going to a Premier League club. I retweeted that, but that isn't. There
was one yesterday, I think, a Japanese right back as well who was going overseas. So I think there's been a couple.
That's the one I was thinking of, the Japanese
one.
Yeah,
no, there's been another one. There's been another one that I just saw just before we came on air that we're being strongly linked with.
But no, I can't. Well, I can't confirm or deny that because there's nothing on the LCFC website. But there is a pitch inspection scheduled at Meadow Lane for the women. So that's all I'm saying. Tony's in. Hello, Tony. How are you? Andreas has said finish 17th. He agrees with me. Tony says we must avoid relegation. Richard says win it, get relegated. The championship reset is what we need to Bloodonium. I would take, if there was a guarantee that we would be in the championship next year just as a relegated team, I would definitely take that. Yes, 100%, because I enjoyed the championship season. My worry is, like I said, we go down, we're just going to get totally and utterly hammered. Where the EFL are waiting? Oh, in replying to Richard, Tommy says exactly my point. Where the EFL are waiting to pull your undies down and smack your bottom. Well, Cooler Billy. This is all news to me. That's
the guy. Yeah, that's the guy that I'd just seen.
Yeah. Let's just wait and see. Iron Chris going to be nice. I mean, if it is a right back, fantastic, because that's one of the position. Well, for me, that's the main position that we need to sort out. But anyway, here we go. So let's talk managers. Look, Rood's won the FA Cup a few times. He won the cup with PSV. He's up against, let me just call him Marty, and we'll leave it at that.
Martin Cifuentes.
Thank you very much. I will leave you to fill that gap in every time I get to it. Wasn't he one of the managers a while ago that
He was.
we were getting linked with?
Yeah, he was linked with us, I think, before. I think he's been linked a couple of times, but he was definitely linked before Cooper got the job because he'd done a decent job with QPR last season. We didn't go down that route, and then he had a shocking start to this season, and it looked like he might get the bullet. But no, he's done well in turning it around.
No, he certainly has. And I think Rude made the point when he was being interviewed that that's what he's looking at Leicester to do, and it just shows you. And all right, we've only got what we've got 18 games left. It is 18 games, isn't it? So we're halfway through. So if we carry on the way we were playing against Liverpool, Man City, and Villa, because there were better performances, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if we carry on that way, there's nothing to say that we can't. How do you think? Because obviously Wolves, we've seen what happened. They seem to have got the best out of the new manager syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Southampton, I don't know. They seem to have swapped one noddy with another noddy. And it looked bad. I mean, I think I was watching Match of the Day, and the commentator said, at least under the last guy, Russell Martin, at least they seem to have a plan. They just seem to be running around under this guy.
I think Southampton are gone.
Yes.
If they get out of that, then that's the greatest turnaround ever.
Better than our great escape, possibly.
Oh yeah.
And I think we had more points at Christmas, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean, they're just already too far adrift, I think, because it's not only them winning games; they've got to hope that other people go on a bad run as well. They've got 3 more teams have got to start dropping points as well as them picking them up. So that's a little bit too much of a long shot for me.
I think so. Yeah, I think, and I'm looking at a couple of fan blogs on YouTube, and they're saying we could beat Derby's record, and they're not positive. Interesting. West Ham have got Potter.
Yeah. I mean, again, that could go one of two ways, couldn't it? I mean, they're not the most patient bunch. Shall we say?
No.
There. To be honest, I think you've got us, Ipswich, Wolves, West Ham, Everton. I would say it's 2 from 5 from that lot, and 2 of them have just appointed new managers. So it could go any way. Potter didn't start that strongly at Chelsea. Obviously, he got the bullet. Yeah. He didn't start particularly strongly at Brighton. It took a while. He's a long game, not a long ball game. That's Everton, but he's a long game manager, so he'll need a little bit of time to bed in there. I don't think he's got Bowen out for a while, so they haven't got really a goal threat going in there. So it's going to be a tricky few weeks, I think, for West Ham. And it's a good opportunity for us to try and grab some points back and start reeling a couple of clubs back in.
What do you think it says about Leicester? Because he said he wants a project, and that's what he feels he's got at West Ham.
Yeah.
Turned down Leicester. Most people are saying 3 times. I think he might only be 2. I don't think we particularly approached him when we went for Rude. I think we'd got Rude in our mind, and that's who we were going for. But turned us down twice. But then, if you're still living in Brighton, or if you're living in London, because of course the Chelsea, either way is very, very close. Because Brighton to London is commuter belt. So, do you think that was the draw for him?
I think there's other things. I think the potential points deduction did play heavy on his mind. If you're going to get relegated, you get relegated on your own merit or otherwise. Not with a points deduction. Obviously, at West Ham, they're not going to get a points deduction, so that doesn't come into play. It's down to him and his managerial talent, I guess, as to whether they stay up or not. I would imagine that Sullivan's going to throw more money at him than we would have done. But I think, I would imagine that West Ham wouldn't have been high up on his list of clubs to join. but I think he'd got to that sweet spot that if he kept turning jobs down, he would start to get forgotten. And so it becomes a gamble then. So I think all things being considered, it's probably a safer bet for him, looking at the points on the board at the minute, than it would have been to come to Leicester.
Yes. I'm just looking down the Sky transfer page and nothing about Leicester. So
I don't think anything's been signed on that, to be honest. It's just
they're not
quite a strong
even
rumour.
linking it as a rumor. On the
Right.
on Sky with Sky, I think on the transfer page it tends to be the rumours, and then it gets transferred to the club page once they know. Interestingly, Everton have sacked Sean Dyche. I mean, sacking him out, a few hours before they're going to kick off a game. But having said that, they won. I think they would have won that anyway. Let's be honest with you. No disrespect to Peterborough. Look, we've changed our manager early on. He had all those games to look at the players and decide what he wants. So coming in, he's been able to look and say, that guy's not very good. He's not very good. He could be, might give him a second chance. This is who we need to go for in January. With Sean Dyche and with Potter, they're obviously going in, and Sean Dyche has said he doesn't want another relegation battle, so that'll be interesting. But they're pretty much going in and saying, oh my God, right, we're in the middle of the window. Who do I want? Who's good? Who's not good?
You mean Moyes? You're on about,
Moyes, sorry. Yeah.
Moyes, yeah.
Moyes at Everton and Potter at West Ham. They haven't had that time.
I mean, they're both in a much better position than we are, from a starting point. Moyes, I think he's going to be a little bit more of the same, when it comes to Dyche. It's a little bit of a, getting your old girlfriend back kind of thing with Moyes. So I think they're both, how can I put it? They both come with a little bit of danger, both appointments. I think Everton have taken the easy option. In getting Moyes back, it'll probably be, to the end of the season or 18 months. I think Potter's a fairly short contract as well. I think that's 18 months. But they're both coming into teams where there's a disgruntlement amongst fans about the football that they're watching, and I think from an Everton perspective, that will be a sentimental appointment, and the fans will welcome him. It's whether he can get a tune out of a team that hasn't got any goals in it. And that's the thing with those two teams. They haven't got a load of goals in them, so they're going to be building on defensive foundations, I would have thought, to try and keep clean sheets. And Dyche was doing that anyway, so that could be a careful what you wish for kind of scenario.
I'm just thinking, though, like I said, do you think they've had the time to assess the squad?
Oh yeah, I would. Any manager who's looking to get back in, as the phrase is watching a lot of football, particularly of the teams that they potentially could be linked with, so that when they go for an interview, they say, they know a lot about the team, they know a lot about the players, and they can impress at an interview. It wouldn't look particularly good if they went in and didn't know half the players. So I think they would have all done their due diligence, and they're probably looking around the transfer window as well, and seeing who they may be able to pick up. Not necessarily free agents, but people who are coming to the end of their contracts. We were linked with Kyle Walker-Peters coming to the end of his contract with Southampton, who would have been a great signing for us, but I think bigger clubs than us will probably come sniffing around him. So he's one of those players. He could well be one of those players who is like, yes, we're in for him, but he wants to see who else comes for him, and then we haven't got the time to sit and wait. So we go and buy one. So yeah, I think that both of those should come into those new jobs with an idea of what they want and where they need to strengthen.
I'm just looking on Leicestershire Live. Yeah, it's Koulibaly. Why does that name ring a bell?
I think there was another Koulibaly. I don't know if I'm not sure if he was at Chelsea before, but there's been a couple of Koulibalys around. One thing I would say as well, just on managers, while we're talking about it, and someone had said that Van Nistelrooy could walk if we get a deduction, and he feels like he's been not told the whole story. He's also come out in the last couple of days talking about the youth team, and particularly that Jeremy Monga, who wouldn't surprise me if he's not on the bench at the weekend. Who's this 15-year-old
Yes.
who is looking like the best prospect we've had for a long time. But as he said, the whole world is looking at this kid. But he did come out and said that he wants to sit down with his parents and plot out a route to the first team for him. So this isn't a manager who's looking short term and not looking ahead.
No.
This is a manager who's looking at the youth team, seeing what's available there and who he can develop. So, yeah, I think there's always the risk if he feels like he's been lied to. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But I think he knows, what's there and what he can build. And it's, if he's got it within him that he wants to build something, then he's in the right place, I think, because the expectations at the minute are fairly low.
Yeah, and I think it is lucky when he's having those sort of conversations. To me, it says, I'm looking at the future.
Exactly.
I know my priority is to keep us up, but we have to consider that might not happen, and we have to look at what may happen. So that's good. But anyway, fingers crossed for Koulibaly. As I say, you can tell he's not a Cooper signing. He's only 25. I mean, Cooper wouldn't have chosen him on that fact alone. To be honest, let's just see. We need some stability at this club. We do, definitely. Right. This doesn't make such good reading, unfortunately, and that is the league positions. As you can see there, we are not adrift, really. I mean, only 2 points. We shouldn't be sort of, getting ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater or anything. I mean, do you remember at the start of the season, we kept saying, like, Wolves, I mean, all right, Gary O'Neill wasn't the best manager, but they had a horrendous start. And we've just been through a really bad period where we were playing Newcastle, I'd say Liverpool, Man United, Aston Villa. That's 4 games, 5 of which are there, you can see we've lost. The Wolves game, I think it would have been, the hairdryer at half-time and full-time off Rude for that.
Yeah.
But those are the 4 games. Probably at the start of the season, we wouldn't have expected anything from anyway.
No.
So but it is the next maybe 5 or 6 games before we get to that March, April time when we've got all the tough ones coming back again at us. By then, hopefully, we've got a settled squad. But it's worrying stations, not necessarily panic stations at the moment.
No, I mean, if we were at the start of the season, people would have taken 17th, 16th, and we're 2 and 3 points off that at the minute. So you're right. It's not panic stations. We need to at least start getting some points on the board. I think that's what we were doing under Cooper. We were getting points, admittedly from some games that we should have won. But we were keeping the scoreboard ticking over. And that's a disappointment. The positive is the performances have been better. It's individual mistakes. It's not necessarily team mistakes, that we're being overrun and battered. I know this isn't the greatest Man City team that there's been in the last decade, but for us to have more possession, and I know possession isn't everything, but it shows that this team is confident enough to be able to keep the ball and play the ball.
We had more shots, didn't we, the Manchester, or very close to matching them for shots.
So if we can cut out individual errors, I think we'll start picking up some points, and there's definitely something to build on and some optimism, I would suggest.
Before we go on to QPR, I'm going to ask you, because obviously we mentioned it before, and it's raising its ugly head again, this PSR. Now, Manchester City, and I was listening to Kieran Maguire, who comes onto this show regularly, and I say regularly, twice he's been on, but that's regular. Anything more than once, he's regular. And he was saying, look, this 115 charges is ridiculous. It's three main ones. They're not going to be thrown out the Premier League. They're going to be, because there's no guarantee. EFL don't have to take them. You know, they're not okay. You know, if they're relegated, yes, that's the agreement. But if they're thrown out, EFL can say, well, we don't want them. And then,
Yeah.
you know, but they could get docked enough points to guarantee that they go down.
Yeah.
But they did say that would come out in March. And then obviously if they appeal it, it could then go on till the following season.
Yeah.
Now, Leicester, let's say the reason I'm saying that is because then, of course, we're talking Leicester and their current PSR, which could come out next week. And this was the time when both Forest and Everton took their punishment.
Yeah.
If we get a points deduction, and I don't know why, because we were 40 million down the Swanee, and we got 40 million off Chelsea for Enzo and KDH. But do we appeal it in the hope that it would take past the end of the season, and then we'll be looking at next season and possibly stay up? Or do we take our medicine and then maybe lose 4 points, but then obviously it's a bit more difficult to stay up?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, you know, if you appeal and you lose the appeal, there's every chance that they'll dump some more on you.
Yes.
And we know that we are not the best friends of either the Premier League or the EFL. So I can't think that they would help us in any way. In fact, if they docked Man City enough points that they are guaranteed relegation, I'd bet a lot of money to say that they'll say that 4 teams will come up and 4 teams will go down. So we'd still go down. Yeah, or however many teams it takes. But I think they will appeal. You know, if we get something, I think it's just the nature of it now that everything we get. But I mean, it comes down to the fact that what they have done so far, when they've appealed from their perceptive position of strength. That it has been upheld. You know, so they were right in appealing. I think if they knew that they were in breach, it would be pointless to appeal, to be honest. So I think on this one, if it's fairly factual and we get it, I think we'll end up just taking it on the chin.
Yeah, because if you take it, then they may, as with Nottingham Forest and Everton, they may knock a couple of points off that.
Yeah.
You know,
for
but
good behaviour.
we'll wait and see. But look at QPR there. I mean, like we said, bottom not so long ago. Now
10 games ago.
Yeah. I mean, are they? Let's just have a look. I mean, the playoff positions 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 is 40 points. They're on 32. 25 games, 26 games played. Still a lot of games to be played again in the championship. Can you imagine playing 26 games at this point? Good God.
I know.
But I mean, they are, like you say, I don't think that would have happened if we stuck with Steve Cooper, but they've stuck with their manager, and it has worked out for them, and fair play to them.
Yeah, I think, you know, but that also puts them in a similar situation as to them making a few changes as well. I mean, they've only lost 1 out of the last 10, won 6, drawn 3, only lost 1, a defeat to Swansea, which was 3-0. They have been leaking goals. I don't know, they've not had many clean sheets in that. But they will now be at a point where they will start looking up rather than looking backwards over their shoulders. And they've had a few injuries as well. 2 or 3 players have been injured. They've got Cole back there who's been injured a little bit. And they seem to be reliant on 2 or 3 players, which I'm not sure that they will necessarily want to risk losing. The striker Frey, I think, has been in good goal scoring form. They've lost one of their centre halves. Their second top scorer over the recent weeks has been Dunn. It was a right back, I think, and was a threat from set pieces, but they've had to move him back into central defence. So, you know, they're having to mix and match their team a little bit as well. So I don't think they'll be at full strength because they'll want to protect their better players as well. So it could be, I'm not going to say wholesale changes for both teams, but I think both will have one eye on protecting their most important players.
Prathant says they're happy to hear you're saying it's only worrying and not panic stations. I'll sleep better tonight. Don't put all that.
You're very welcome, Prashant. You get your head down and sleep soundly.
I said that. I don't want that pressure on me. He comes on to watch along tomorrow and says, hey, I didn't sleep last night. It's your fault.
Yeah.
Looks like we have to average a point per game from now on. It'll be difficult. Look, we know it's not going to be easy. And I think gone are the days when 40 points keeps you up. I think it's a lot less than that these days.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking around 32, 34, to be honest. Yeah. But I did look at the fixtures, and based on our current form, I couldn't see us getting more than 11 or 12 points. So we need to pull some others up from somewhere.
Yes, I know. It is. Yes, sometimes you think, I wish I hadn't looked at that, isn't it? But this is the form based on the last 6. Look, we drew with Brighton, which was a fair result. And like I say, take the Wolves game out, because look, that was a bad day at the office. That was probably, for me, possibly the worst performance of the season.
I don't think Newcastle was that great either, to be honest.
It wasn't, but it was Newcastle.
They are tonking everybody at the minute. They are the form team, aren't they? So
they hadn't up until beating us.
No,
but now they are top of the form table.
You're welcome, Toon fans. You're very welcome.
Yes,
for that.
exactly.
Turn your season round for you.
But Newcastle, Liverpool, Man City, Aston Villa, like you said, at the start of the season, we'd have probably gone no points from any of those. It was the Wolves game probably where we expected something and we didn't get it, which is why it's disappointing. So maybe, and obviously there are a lot of games all coming together because it was Christmas and what have you. But when you look at the QPR position on the form table, 6th in the Championship on the form, drew with Bristol City, beat Preston, lost to Swansea, which was possibly a surprise, drew with Norwich, beat Watford, beat Luton. Looks impressive, but none of those teams are actually fighting for the top. They're all sort of mid-table.
No, they're all going under. I don't know if the Luton manager's gone. I think he may have done.
He has now gone, yes.
So, their teams, they were teams in and around them that they managed to beat and get themselves out of it. But you're right, they're not, beating anyone, and the team that was higher up than them, I think Swansea, gave them a good turning over of 3-0. So, it's a tricky one, and it can be skewed a little bit by a run of games. As you say, we've had strong opponents and they've had fairly weak ones, but victories build confidence, points on the board build confidence, as you see from Newcastle when they played us, and they went on from there. But that, it was interesting to hear Anthony Gordon after the last victory that they had, saying that they basically had one of those player meetings and some strong words were spoken amongst each other, and since then they've not looked back. So maybe we need Jamie to.
I don't often disagree with you these days, but I'm going to have to totally disagree with you. I'm sorry, because you know better than anybody, Craig, that points make prizes.
This is a good point. You are right. I apologise, Chris.
That's all right then, as long as you understand. I'm losing it. I really, really am. Right, let's have a look then, because I did ask you to put your team together, which you very kindly did. I did have to make a change because I was surprised you went for Ward in goal.
No, I didn't.
I love this sort of the moment when it's like almost like you're thinking, did I?
Yeah.
But look, let's bring your team up. This is the team that you think, because we did kind of say, and Geordie too for life says thank you. But I did ask you to put the team together. Like we say, whether you go for continuity, which I hadn't thought of until you mentioned it earlier, but it is a very, very good point, or do you go for giving players a rest? Because we are playing, again, Palace on Wednesday, like you said, along with QPR. You did have us playing both on Wednesday.
I was thinking back to the old days when there was cup replays.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is no replay. No
replay. It's straight to full time and penalties. Oh my God! If it goes to penalties, will he bring Ward on? That's the question.
Imagine.
Yes, exactly. So you go
and he gets his own back by just standing there, not even trying for any of them.
Indeed. Just thinking 6 months' time, it'll all be a memory.
Yeah.
But you've gone for Everson in goal. Over
Yeah, it
Salah.
wouldn't surprise me if he plays Stolarczyk, to be honest. But as I say, he can't afford to take risks. But it wouldn't surprise it. This was a 50-50. I mean, before we go into the individual players, I've tried to have a mix of, established players.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it would be a good opportunity to have a look at two or three of the youngsters. But Everson is a 50-50, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if he sticks with Stolarczyk, but I'd play Everson.
Yes, indeed. Back four. Like I said, we've gone for the. We think this is that he's going to stick with the same formation. So
yeah, obviously, I would.
You would have changed that.
I think we need to go to three centre halves, but we're going with what we think he will play with.
Exactly.
Be interested on your thought on each of these positions as we go along, Chris, as well.
Well, Everson, like you say, it's 50-50. I possibly would have stuck with Stolarczyk because, let's be honest with you, he's not going to knacker himself out. But then, it's obviously the thing is injury, but that could happen in any game. You can't not pick a player on that risk for a season. So either or, I would agree with you on that. But yeah, totally what you say. I whether I would go for this formation, probably not. But there's no point us going for a 3-5-2 or whatever, knowing that he's not going to, and it messes it all up. So these are your choice on the formation that he will go for. Joseph, explain, because this is somebody I don't really know. As you can see, I didn't take a picture for him.
No, he's a young kid. He used to be on the books at Man City. In their youth setup that we picked up. He's been playing quite a lot for the under-21s this season. I think he's 19, and we just offered him a professional contract. I think we offered about 8 players professional contracts, those who had been doing well in the youth setup. And in lieu of us not really having anyone else, I think there's Wormleyton, who is a right back as well, who I think earlier in the season, towards the end of last season, was someone who got on the bench a couple of times and was looked to be the one who was pushing through. But then this Jaden Joseph seems to have nudged ahead in the under-21. So, give him a go, I would say. Let's have a look at him.
Totally. If we're giving these, why are we going to give these players contracts if they're never going to see the light of day?
And as Rude's having that conversation with Jeremy Monga, you've got to show that there is a pathway through to the first team, that when there is opportunities. And this was a real disappointment under Cooper for me, that none of these kids even made the bench. We were filling the bench with older players that we brought in on loan and God knows what. You've got to have 1 or 2 on the bench, surely, for opportunities where the game's gone, or you're comfortable in a game and they can get 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's the only way you're going to find out if they're good enough is if you play them.
Yeah. So I won't argue with you on that one because I don't know him enough. But look, we can't. We need to take Justin out of the gunfire for a bit, don't we? And if we had, hopefully, if this guy comes, maybe if Joseph plays out of his skin, they might go back to this Cuba lab and go, sorry, guy, we don't need you. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, no, I accept that. I think Justin's got to be taken out. And even if this guy only comes in as an alternative to Justin before we've signed the other guy, Faze and Nicoli, I suppose they're the obvious ones if you're not going to play Cody and Vestergaard again. I guess you're thinking just to give them a rest, are you?
Well, I think so, but I like this pair. They do make the odd mistake, but I feel they're a lot more aggressive than Vestergaard and Cody. What I would say about Vestergaard is the last couple of games he has played pretty well, and his passing ability and the way that we want to try and play through the lines, very much like he did under Maresco. We've seen a bit more of that under Van Nistelrooy. Of his passing ability, so he's no argument on that front. But I just like my centre halves to be a little bit more aggressive than Vestergaard and Cody are, to be honest. And too many strikers are getting a free run. Isak just ran through us, as if it was like touch rugby or whatever. It was embarrassing at times. So these are liable to making a mistake, but so are Cody and Vestergaard. So, if it's a choice between them, I'd like an aggressive and quicker centre-half pairing.
I think Faze as well, we tend to forget his mistakes because Justin's making so many. Thomas, you've brought in for Christensen. Look, everybody, when we played him against was it Man City he played? It was, wasn't it? Yeah. And everybody was sort of saying, oh my God, Thomas. He was my man of the match. He did absolutely nothing majorly wrong. No, I'm not allowing the odd mistake because every player slips or makes a mistake.
Yeah.
I thought he had a damn good game, and I think he's earned his right to be there.
I think so. I don't think Christensen's fully fit yet anyway. And there's no point rushing someone back, because I think he was ill rather than injured. There's no point rushing someone back, for a cup game. And again, for the size of the guy that he is, Thomas, he's quite slight, but I think he's our most aggressive fullback. He doesn't allow players to turn. Sometimes he gets turned because of it, because he likes to get close and aggressive. But he deserves another run out to show, if nothing else, that there is someone decent sitting on the bench putting pressure on Christensen. Because the worst thing is, if you've got players who know that regardless of their performance, they're going to keep the shirt, you've got to have people putting pressure on them.
Yeah. These next two defensive midfielders, look, you're talking my language here, Craig. I like Skip, and I know Brad doesn't, and a lot of people are saying 20 million wasted. I think he's good. I think at times he's actually outplayed Winks. I would definitely have him in, and I've never got. When Winks was injured, I had no problems about Skip coming in. Golding, again, for me, I agree with you. Why have we bought him?
Yeah.
What's he doing? Is he actually playing for us, or is he sort of snuck back to Chelsea? I don't know. You're going to have Samare and Winks on the bench, I would imagine, but certainly those two. What was your thinking behind those two?
Well, I think Skip has a little bit of an inferiority complex. That when he's alongside someone else, he allows them to take the reins, and he just does his job alongside him. And I think if you're putting him alongside a more youthful prospect, then he's going to have to step up his game and show his credentials and his leadership qualities from the middle of the pitch. So I think you may see a little bit more of what he's all about, having a youngster alongside him. And I know, I can't remember the guy's name, but there's another young player who's been on the bench a couple of times, so he may go down that route. But as you say, we've bought Golding for a reason. We spent money on him. He's not through the youth team. So, and when he has played, he's played a couple of times in the cup games, and by all accounts, he's been neat and tidy. So let's see what he's got.
Indeed. Your three, look, Alves. Let's go to Alves first. I mean, yes. And I know I keep saying this, if Wayne Rooney had been playing for Leicester, even at his age as he is now, he wouldn't have been deemed fit, old enough to play for the first team. We've got all these youngsters. We never really use them. He is supposed to be the next wonder kid, and I don't want to sort of build him up and put too much weight on his shoulders. But when he has actually got onto the grass, he has impressed me. He does like to go forward.
Yeah, as I say, again, you've got to show a pathway. Either he's going to get some game time. It could be that he's earmarked to go out on loan, and if that's the case, they probably won't play him because he'll be not only cup tied, but he would get the risk of an injury. So if he's earmarked to go out on loan, he probably won't play him. But I think there's an opportunity for him here against, not duffers, or League Two opposition or non-league or whatever. It's a decent team he's up against. So it is a challenge without putting him in against, seasoned Premier League players. So I think it's the ideal game to give him a chance and see what he's got.
Yes. Buenete and McAteer, again, I'm finding myself agreeing with you way too much on this. But again, you got to have a little bit of experience. And it's funny that we're saying McAteer and I'm using the word experience at the same time. But I mean, look, Buenete, for some reason, he's not been starting him. I know he likes AU and he thinks he gives a little bit more defensively. But sometimes, I mean, QPR at home in the cup, you don't face that defensively, do you? Your best form of defence there surely is attack.
Exactly, and I think if there was any danger of him going back to Brighton, then he wouldn't be playing. But by all accounts, he's played enough minutes to mean that they've negated any recall option that they've got, because he's played enough. So it's not like we're going to cup tie him, because he's not going to go back. So so I think it's safe to play him. And again, an ideal game. McAteer, I'm still on the fence about. I think he's a squad player. I don't think he's what we need. But he's coming back from injury, and it gives Steffi again a chance to sort of rest up and reflect, shall we say. McAteer should be good enough at this level.
Yes, but we need those squad players, don't we?
Exactly.
Surprised you didn't go for Edouard, especially, with your Ward choice in goal. Ward at the back and Edouard up front. It was a 10-0 to us, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, could be.
It's the obvious choice, isn't it, Daka?
Yeah, I think we had this debate on Tuesday night about whether Vardy was past it, and I think we came down on the line that he wasn't past it, but we need to use him better. Although he's he does have restrictions on what he's offering at the minute. Daka, there's a decent player inside Daka, who can cause problems with that pace, and I think he's a confidence player. So we need him. We need goals. So any opportunity we can to get him minutes on the pitch and build up some confidence, then this is an ideal game for him. And I would be absolutely shocked if he didn't play.
Yeah, I'm going to say, if he doesn't play Daka in this game, I'm sorry. I think Daka's on his way out, to be honest with you.
No, I agree.
On that. So yeah, I agree. Very, very quickly, Ben Chilwell will be out of squad this weekend, says Fabrizio. I can't see him coming back here though somehow. But
no, I wouldn't say no to it. To be honest, still a decent player. But no, I think there'll be clubs in a better position, shall we say?
Have been burnt anyway. I think I think the fans have made sure that he won't want to come back, and I don't blame him.
It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at West Ham somewhere like that, even on a loan for the rest of the season.
We are favourites to win very quickly, and obviously, when the fun stop, and gambleaware.org. We have to say that 3-5 for us to win. Tell you what. I'm not so sure about that. But as you said earlier, no replays. Games will be decided by extra time and penalties. But that 16-5 is if it was a draw at full time. That's why the odds are there. And as you can see, that was at 5-3 this afternoon. But I know you've got to go. So very, very quickly, before you go, give us your score prediction, Craig.
I'm going to go for a 3-1. Go back to the old favourite.
3-1. I'm going to say I don't have that confidence. I really, really don't. I am going to go 1-1, and we could even lose it on penalties.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong. A bit of, what do they call it?
Cheery news. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know at the moment. Give me something to hold on to. That's... If I've got to go, I think I'll go. I'd go for a 2-1 Leicester, but I'm not sure.
Feeling it. You got to go with your gut, Chris.
Sorry,
you got to go with your gut, and if your gut's saying it could be a slippery one, then you got to go for that.
This could be a slippery one. Look, I know you got to go, Craig, so I'll let you go. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the game. I say bring back the win.
I shall try and set us on that path to FA Cup glory and relegation.
Yeah, fingers crossed. The famous double. Yeah. Take care, mate, and have a good night tonight.
Cheers, mate. Bye, everyone.
Bye, bye. Thanks to Craig there. He has got to go out, though. But yeah, that's how we're going to look at these. Look at these going forward. Is the get your score predictions in the chat, by the way. Get your predictions in. What did you think of Craig's team? I've got to say, it makes a lot of sense, because I hadn't thought about what he said about the continuity thing, but to me, we've got the youth. We've got to use the youth. We've got, at the time, when we got that new stadium, new training ground, it was the best. Bournemouth have got one that's as good as ours now. Everybody's caught us up. And what has happened in that time where we had the advantage? Have we brought any of the youngsters through? No, we haven't. And that's the thing. There's nobody come through that you can say, wow, so glad we got the new training centre. And like I say, now we've not got the advantage. I was looking at, but I live outside Bournemouth, and I was looking at theirs online the other day. It's very similar to ours, shape and everything. And that's Bournemouth. No disrespect to them. We've lost that any advantage we had with that new training centre. It's wasted. It is wasted. So let's like I say, I like to think we're going to win it, but hang on a second. I just want to go back because we're doing a watch along tomorrow, and we will be back tomorrow at 1:30. As you can see, it's a 2:00 kickoff. Somebody said earlier, thank you very much, can't remember who it was, that the Tigers are playing tomorrow evening, so that's why. If that's the case, makes total sense. Let's just have a look. Geordie said, what's going on? Look, if I knew that, I'd be a millionaire. All the best. Thank you very much. We're going to need it. Who have you got, Geordie? They can't get experience if you don't give them game time. Exactly. Tony Smith says, if Edward is staying here, then I'll play. Oh, please don't say he's staying. Please. I'd go and buy the striker from Rochdale if there was one. Anybody but Edward. Palace don't want him back. The fans don't want him back. The club don't want him back. That should say enough. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Hi, Doug. Doug's in. How you doing, mate? Leicester 1 QPR after extra time. Yeah, like I say, I wouldn't be at all surprised. I really wouldn't. But look, at least, we're not going to be any worse off league table-wise come 5:00 Saturday night or whatever time the match finishes. We'll be back at 1:15 tomorrow. Kickoff is at 2:00. We're going to do the watch-along, half-time and post-match reaction, and obviously the first and second half as well. Thank you all very much. Have a very good night. I'm off to go and watch The Traitors. Absolutely loving that. Do take care. Do enjoy yourselves. And I will see you, fingers crossed, hopefully tomorrow for the watch-along at 1:15. Take care. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.